Romanticizing is a word that gets thrown around a lot, especially here on the internet. I feel like a lot of people are encouraging others to romanticize their lives, to romanticize school, and overall to try to feel like the main character in their own life. This past year was my first year of university and it definitely had its challenges, so I found myself needing to romanticize school more than usual to enjoy it. And so I thought I would give some advice and share a few things and tips that help me feel more inspired and help me romanticize my life. So without further ado, if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. First, I want to make sure we really clearly define what romanticizing actually means, because again, I feel like it's a term that gets thrown around a lot and some people can kind of like lose sense and lose track of its actual definition. According to Oxford Languages, to romanticize is to deal with or describe in an idealized or unrealistic fashion, to make something seem better or more appealing than it really is. I find this definition pretty interesting because the way it's described, romanticizing honestly seems kind of toxic, and this definition does highlight some of the toxic tendencies within this trend, which are summed up in the words unrealistic and trying to make things seem better than they are. My views on romanticizing definitely don't value looks or aesthetics as much. Instead, for me, wanting to romanticize the mundane comes from wanting my routine to feel more fun and exciting rather than making it look a certain way. I did want to do a quick disclaimer because I feel like here, especially on the internet, romanticizing is a lot about the aesthetics, and although I do think that's one part of it, to me, romanticizing is actually really a lot more about nurturing your relationship with yourself, getting to know yourself, and just like doing things that make you feel inspired and like excited about life. So I don't want people falling into the trap of trying to romanticize their life only to convey a certain aesthetic or to like fit into a certain lifestyle that they see on Pinterest, because at the end of the day, like that's just kind of an illusion. And I think romanticizing life is much more about navigating the ups and downs of our busy and, let's be honest, stressful student life. For me, romanticizing school is also about trying to incorporate more self-care into my busy college routine. I'm someone who really values quality time, and that also includes quality time with myself. So sometimes I know with our busy schedules, it can be kind of hard to do that. And romanticizing my life is kind of a lens through which I can, I guess, pamper myself a little bit, make myself feel better, or just make my life overall more interesting so that it doesn't get so lost in the mundane and in the busy schedule that I have. So yeah, now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and get right into ways that I like to romanticize school. I know I bring this up a lot, but the first thing I want to stress is the importance of having a routine. I literally talked about this in my other two like school related advice videos, but I really do think this is obviously the basis from which everything else kind of blossoms. So you want to make sure that you have a good and solid routine and solid habits around which you can then start adding little different activities and implementing different things to help you romanticize your day-to-day. Making my morning matcha is by far one of my favorite parts of my morning routine, and it just makes me feel like I'm like playing a barista, and it definitely adds a little bit of joy to my day. I also love wearing nice comfy pajamas. These ones from Cozy Earth are by far the comfiest I own, and I also love to put music on in the morning while I'm getting ready just to like get in a bit of a better mood. I love to check out what my day list is on Spotify, and today it is Forest Earthy Thursday Morning, which honestly is kind of a vibe. So I think that's what I'm gonna listen to. Especially when I only have one class during my day, it can be really tempting to just like roll out of bed and go wearing sweatpants and not really put in any effort into my appearance. But then I'm just showing up to class, I feel like I'm still like half asleep and I'm not really feeling physically prepared for the class, so let alone mentally prepared. And I really notice a difference compared to on days when I actually put in like an effort to maybe like wear something else, wear something new, try on different outfits, maybe do my hair. It just like is a process of kind of almost putting on a uniform for school, even though I'm lucky enough I don't have an actual uniform. Since we're talking about routine, I also want to stress the importance of preparing things the night before as much as possible. I know this might not seem too related to romanticizing your life, but to me, it's really hard to romanticize things when I'm like in a rush, running late, and I can't find my things. So making sure that everything is ready and that I'm like preparing whatever I need for my future self is just gonna make it easier for me to then like want to romanticize my life, because it's not gonna make me as stressed. I'm definitely someone who perhaps has a little bit too much of an obsession with stationery and cute school supplies. Every time back to school comes around, I just like cannot help myself and I want to buy literally the entire stationery store. I'm definitely a notebook hoarder, but I do think it's fun to kind of like invest in some good stationery and bring that to class with you. It just makes me feel a little bit more motivated, because obviously I put in more effort into like researching what stationery I like, and so I'm more excited to use it than if I were to just like use the plain, you know, Bic ballpoint pen, which I have like no hate towards that. If that's what you're into, go for it. But personally, it makes me feel like I'm filling out a form at the doctor's, which is not really what I want when I'm showing up to class and trying to get motivated to take some notes. Again, you really don't need to spend that much money. I know stationery can be pretty expensive, but just find like one good pen that works for you, and then you can buy ink refills every once in a while so that you can really use it for the rest of your studies and perhaps even for the rest of your life. My next piece of advice is to decorate your spaces. This includes both your room and your study space, or if that's kind of combined, making sure you have like a good way to kind of differentiate them. I have my own office downstairs and I've kind of decorated it to make it a little bit more fun for me to work at, but I also noticed that I definitely need to keep it clean and free of clutter for me to actually want to work at my desk, because a lot of the time, obviously if it's super messy, I'm not really motivated to work there, no matter how cute and well decorated it is. I also love to like light a few candles, put on a study with me video or like a little study ambiance in the background while I'm doing my work, and that just like makes me feel a little bit more inspired, because I'm like putting in a little bit more effort whenever I'm like sitting down and trying to make my space look more presentable, look more cute for myself. This also includes your digital space. I think it's really nice to do a little bit of a digital refresh every couple of months and just like update your wallpaper, maybe like move some things around so that yes, it's functional, but also it's more inspiring for you when you're looking at it. So you can make a little vision board as your wallpaper with a few different like aesthetic photos or things that inspire you, or maybe photos that represent different goals you're working towards. It's like a little thing, but it goes a long way when you're just looking for a little bit of a refresh. Speaking of study spots, I really recommend trying to switch things up every once in a while and go to a different study area. I think it's really fun to just like explore your campus and look for new places where you like to work, or maybe work from a different library than the one you're used to. It's part of like the fun of being a student to just explore the campus and make the most out of it. There are so many different like hidden nooks that you can find, and it can also really help like change your environment and just keep things fresh and exciting. I recently visited this library I'd never worked at before, and I was so excited because the vibes were definitely very cozy and very inspiring, and it was just a really nice change in environment that made me more motivated and made my work session a little bit more fun. My next piece of advice is to try to enjoy the like unnoticed or smaller, maybe quieter moments in your day. I think for me, this is definitely my commute. I spend so much time commuting to school every single day, and it is a time that often gets overlooked because I'm just like going from one place to another. But you know, I listen to my music, I bring my book with me everywhere I go, and I try to read it whenever I'm like on the bus because I just like enjoy that time more. Another thing I try to make time for, but unfortunately during the semester often gets overlooked, is morning journaling. It's really something I benefit a lot from, and I've talked about journaling on my channel before, but unfortunately during the semester sometimes I'm a little bit too much like in a go mindset, and in the morning I don't really take the time to slow down to do my morning journaling. But when I do, I really notice a difference, and sometimes even just doing this like on my way to class, or if I show up to class a little bit earlier, I do it then. Oftentimes I don't even have my journal, so I just like do it on my notes app, but it really is beneficial to just like set an intention for the day, write a few things you're grateful for, or write something you're looking forward to. It just helps you go through your day-to-day life with more intention so that you are like romanticizing those little moments. One prompt I really like to do, and I've tried to incorporate more into my daily journaling, is what is something I will do for myself today. And I feel like that's really relevant for this video because usually that basically means what is one way I can romanticize my day, what is one way I can show myself love, have a little bit of self-care in my day even if I'm really busy, and this can be really small. These are some of the ones that I use. Go on a walk, make yourself a matcha, work out, journal, and go to bed early. I just think it's important to be mindful and to be intentional every single day as much as possible so that you're enjoying it and, you know, it doesn't slip through your fingers. Contrary to some of the toxic academic motivation that's out there, please make sure you get enough sleep, and please make sure you prioritize it as much as possible. I know it's so much easier said than done, and some days sleep is like the last thing on your mind, but I think there can be this weird pressure that's really toxic in the like student community where people will almost praise like not sleeping enough and value working over, you know, sleep. This semester I've tried to get into the habit of actually having a night routine more, because contrary to my morning routine where I like go through all of these habits, usually at night I'm just like so done with the day, I just close my laptop and go in the shower and then go straight to bed. Like I'm not really doing much more than that, but I've noticed that when I like take the time to put on my little mood lighting, you know, turn on my diffuser, maybe I like read my book for a little while or journal even for like 5 minutes. I feel like on the nights when I do that, it just puts me in a better mindset and it makes me feel more prepared and more rejuvenated than when I just like go straight to bed. So I really recommend trying to romanticize your night routine, trying to pamper yourself a little bit, maybe do a face mask every once in a while, and just trying to have even just 10 minutes of downtime before you fall asleep. Next, I'm going to be talking about everyone's favorites, which are study dates. During the semester, it can be like really tricky to find times to see your friends, so that's why study dates can be a really great tool to kind of combine getting work done with socializing, which can be sometimes a little bit distracting. So you have to kind of like find someone who will actually hold you accountable and who you can work efficiently with without getting distracted or without starting to gossip every 5 minutes, which I've definitely done before. But I think it's just a really nice way to get work done, also catch up with a friend, and just like switch things up a little bit, make yourself feel a little bit less alone, because let's face it, student life can be a little bit solitary and it can almost feel competitive at times when you're actually like getting to know your classmates, hanging out outside of class, working on assignments together. It's just a way to feel more like you're a part of the community. I think it's also helpful because sometimes I'll be like working on an assignment and I feel like I need a second opinion, so having someone literally right there accessible is just like helpful because they can review your work and vice versa. I personally love organizing and setting up study dates at different coffee shops. I think it's really nice to just like find new go-to spots, but it can be like obviously pretty expensive, and I think especially when you're watching a lot of these like romanticizing videos, there can be almost this pressure that you need to like buy a lot of things, that you need to like go to coffee shops, buy yourself a brand new outfit, buy yourself a bunch of stationery or like brand new computer and all these things. Like you don't need to do that. You could also have your study date like at a library, or again at one of the study spots on your campus, or even at home. Like that can just make things feel a little bit more fun when you're actually like working with a study buddy. This brings me to talk about trying to unplug every once in a while, which is not the easiest, but I think catching up with your friends once in a while in a way that's not meant to be productive in any way is super important. Also, I feel like personally for me, it gives me something to look forward to. So when like I'm planning out my week, I know that I can look forward to that, and I can also like manage my time a little bit better around that, I guess, social activity or event. I also wanted to talk about the media and content that we consume on a daily basis and how influential and how much of an impact it has on our everyday life and on our overall mood. I noticed during my first semester, I was just like unknowingly was listening to all of these like really mellow, really sad songs, and it was really impacting my mood and making me feel just not my best, making me feel really low energy. And when I realized that, I was like, actually, that's true. Like, why am I listening to this, you know? Since then, I made like an effort to just have fun and listen to like new playlists and make a new playlist every once in a while for myself to have on repeat for a couple of weeks or for a month. And not only is it like a fun activity, but it just, again, makes you feel like a main character in your own life, and it just like kind of allows you to curate the soundtrack to your life, which is really fun, because then I find myself looking back on old playlists and kind of being brought back to that moment. So good. Literally one of my favorite movie scores of all time. Besides music, I think it's also really nice to have a good comfort show that you can go back to and just like watch. I feel like personally I go through phases where sometimes I watch more TV and other times I watch more YouTube, and I always noticed that I'm usually more productive when I'm in my YouTube phase because I'm watching a lot of like creators who are also students and who are like posting these productive vlogs and productive days in the life. I also always try to bring a book with me everywhere I go, and especially whenever I feel myself getting really into a book or really into a series, it's just like so much fun because I have that to look forward to, and it gives me also a break from social media, which I think is not always like a positive place to be. I wanted to end this video on a little bit of a reflective note and just encourage you guys to remember the bigger picture and to just enjoy and make the most out of these years that we are in school. Obviously, it can be really easy to get caught up in like the deadlines and the to-do lists and all the assignments, but at the end of the day, like these years are going to fly by, and already I'm like shocked that I'm in university. It feels like just yesterday I was like starting school, but you know, we learn so much from these years that we are like learning and figuring out what we want to do with our lives. So it's just like really nice to get to document that in some way. I personally keep a journal and I love it because I can just like flip back to an earlier entry and see that whatever I was struggling with at that time is now over, and maybe it led to something else that now is bringing a lot of joy in my life. Like, you never know. And so that's also why, you know, like I'm making this video about romanticizing, and that's why there are so many videos like this online, because that's just another way to make sure that you're enjoying the moment more and you're not letting it pass by. And yeah, just to wrap things up, I think romanticizing is about, you know, identifying what those things are that you're looking forward to, but also identifying what you currently have and how you can appreciate it more, and just like making the most out of your daily routine. I'd like to leave off this video by giving you a little bit of a homework assignment, and that is just to write a letter to your future self and really write down everything you're currently going through, everything that's currently on your mind, what your future goals are. And it's just a really interesting exercise and activity, because then when you open that letter in a couple of years, you'll be able to see how much you've grown, how much your priorities and goals may have evolved, and just how much you've experienced as a person. I feel like it's very therapeutic to put everything down onto paper, and then getting to open that in a couple of years is just such a valuable experience. So yeah, that's my little, hopefully not too daunting homework assignment. On that note, that is where I'm going to end the video today. I really hope that this was somewhat insightful or inspiring, and if there's anything I didn't mention, I would love to hear more about how you guys romanticize your life in the comments down below. Reading and replying to comments is like one of my favorite things to do, and it's one of my favorite parts of making videos, so feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, like more, I guess, kind of like how-to advice video, let me know what you want to see, because I definitely would love to make more. I wore this blouse specifically because it makes me feel like a school teacher, so hopefully you enjoyed my lecture. Okay, bye!